Hello, my dear audience, my dear fellow Angelinos. Welcome to the East-West show, exclusively sponsored by BPR Reso, best known for their internationally renowned Italian-style men's suit. I happen to be wearing one. How do I
Nice.
look?
Handsome.
All right. And this is the style, not only by this Italian style, but the fact combines with the culture and the tradition. What is the extra plus is that they use what they call nano textile technology that makes the fabric water resistant. If you have a drop of water, it goes down like that right away. And also by their R-Race golf series. Of course, by the way, I have several sets head to toe at home. So thank you for the sponsorship. Okay, back to the story. Today we're talking about for a better LA County. In order to get a better LA County, you have to handpick yourself somebody who is suitable for the job as county supervisor. For that county supervisorship, for that 5th district of LA County, I recommend my good friend Catherine Barger, who's been here for several times. However, we step by step touch the core issues of the county. Catherine, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me back. It's really an honor to be here.
It is an honor here.
Wow.
All right. And it's an honor to my audience to hear you talk about your big plan. You want to sit closer to
Sure.
to your audience. So
I'm not afraid
they
of you.
love you better.
Yeah,
right?
very
Good,
right.
Very
right.
good. Now, last time we checked about all the bigger pictures about the picture. And now at the probably time spot of about a month and a half into the actual election day, I hear lots of new endorsement. And interesting enough and amazing enough, which is the beauty of democracy, that you received endorsement from your former opponents.
Absolutely.
All right?
Absolutely.
What a beautiful system.
It's an honor. I mean,
yeah.
it speaks volumes to the fact that, and I've said this, all my opponents that have endorsed me were formidable opponents. And I reached out to them after the election and asked them if they would consider endorsing me. We all talked, and I'm honored that I have Bob Huff, Mitch Englander, Ara Najarian, Billy Malone, and Elon Carr. It truly is an honor because there were people out there that understood their message, and the fact that they endorsed me should confirm the fact that I am a bipartisan candidate who wants to attack the problems, not the people, and work with everybody.
All right, very good. And of course, my dear audience, I do not have to speak on her behalf. I would like to make one point that I speak on the democracy behalf. And for those of you who endorsed her as her former opponents, and I thank you very much, not only for the endorsement, I thank you especially for that, what you did, put up a role model for democracy. For that, I would recommend that we all give them a big hand. Right?
Absolutely.
That's a support of a better LA.
And that's really what it's about. I think the endorsements reflect the fact that my opponents want what I want, and that is a better LA County.
Of course, of course.
And better means building on the strong foundation that's there right now.
It's like exactly like say, hey, so I think I can do the job, you think you can do the job. At a certain point, I back up. Okay, you do the job, I support you. How about that?
Absolutely.
Like that kind.
And I'm cautious because we talk about a better LA County. Supervisor Antonovich has been in office for 36 years. And the legacy that he leaves, the shoes that he has to fill are big.
Yeah, especially Senator Bob Huff. And I know him quite a lot. He's a man, he stands up for what's right, he believes, and he has enough guts to fight against anything that he believes the constituents would ask him for. And now at a point when he backs up, he gives you support. I gave him a plus. Like
absolutely, and I look forward to working with him. We talked,
and Mitch too, yeah.
Yeah, and absolutely Mitch too. But You know, from Senator Huff's position, coming from the state, I see a lot of hurdles that we need to get over that are state focused.
Yeah, yeah.
And I look forward to working with him. His commitment, not only to LA County, but to the state, is strong. And we talked about moving forward, how we're going to work together. And I'm excited. I'm excited to work with him. He has done incredible things, and is someone whose endorsement I value, and Mitch Englander as well. LA City touches part of LA County's 5th district, and it's important to work with all of our 88 cities.
Yeah, God bless LAC.
Yeah.
Right? LAC has all the best.
Yes.
All the best nature can afford, can offer so far. Okay, now, last time we checked about several, and we even put this discussion, last time discussion, on the magazine with your picture like a star, like that. And we talked about the public health.
Yeah.
We talk about education. We're talking about the public safety. What we left over was another range, right? Another range of subjects. I just heard from the newsletter from your office. When I say your office, I say Michael Antonovich's office, because you are the chief of staff of his office so far.
Absolutely.
At least now, right?
And I'm proud of
and
it.
On the newsletter, it gave a summary of the weapons, illegal weapons, confiscated during the years. So would you give us some update on that, please?
Absolutely. In 1999, there was a tragic shooting out in the San Fernando Valley at a Jewish center, and a postal worker was shot. It turns out the man who shot and killed this postal worker was on active probation. As part of conditions being on probation, you're not allowed to have firearms, drugs. You've got to be in compliance. As a result of this, Supervisor Antonovich initiated a program called Disarm. And what Disarm's focus is that we pair LA County probation officers with local law enforcement who go out and do compliance checks.
Okay.
This began in 2000, and since 2000, we've confiscated over 10,000 arms. Guns. In addition, when we first started doing this, the compliance rate, which means that the probationer is not within compliance, was those that were obeying the law was about 10%. Since 2000, the compliance rate has come up to over 50%. So it's working. We've got a long way to go.
All right.
These criminals should not have weapons. It's not in their it is illegal for them to do that, and they will get sent back to jail. And so we initiated that, and it's been incredible success.
I do recall those times when I was a reporter. I was on the field quite often, and several activities I attended at the Mike Antonovich, his office, weapon confiscation. And I kept a record for a certain time about the weapons confiscated. So far, in accumulation of 16 years or 17 years, something, 10,000 pieces.
Over 10,000, probably closer
over
to
10,000.
10,500. And each one of those guns, that's one less gun in a criminal's hand that can harm the community.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
you know, when you look at the compliance was only at 10%, and now it's over 50. The word is getting out there that we're going to have a zero tolerance for criminals not complying with their probation.
Exactly. Even though we're a country of guns, we still prefer guns to be in the right hands, right? It is the gun holder, it is the criminal finger that pulls the trigger.
Absolutely. Well, you know, and a lot of these guns probably were obtained illegally. And if you're a convicted felon, you're not allowed to carry an arm.
I see.
And if you're on parole or probation, and especially since if your conviction was
is that a costly process to do with a gun confiscation?
I wouldn't argue that it's costly, because if you look at the human lives that have been saved, in one area of LA County, we were talking to a captain of a sheriff's station, and when we were actively out there doing the disarm, very frequently. The rate of shootings went down in the community.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
the cost, you know, I don't associate cost with the overall benefits, and it's not. I mean, these are probation officers whose job is
Exactly.
to ensure that the probationers are in compliance.
All right. And of course, when I say that, I mean that compared to the fact, versus to the fact that you send additional officers on the street, though, what that kind of cost taking into consideration to be versus to the fact that we confiscated those dangerous weapons out on the street in the hands of criminals. Right. So it is really something worth doing.
Absolutely. I mean, we want a safe community, and we live in a society that we have rules, and these individuals on parole and probation are not afforded the right to be able to carry an arm because it's part of their. It's illegal for them to do it. So we need to aggressively let them know that there's a zero tolerance.
All right. That being a renowned legacy. So once you take office, you want to take over?
Disarm is, I mean, this is an important program, and I wholeheartedly support it. The numbers speak for themselves. And again, this is about doing what's right for the community and what's expected. This shouldn't even be a special program. This should be part of what they do. Unfortunately, it's not. This is something that that Supervisor Antonovich initiated in again, 2000, and it's taken off. And we do it and are aggressive about it. They just had a sweep last week up in the Santa Clarita area and netted drugs and weapons.
All right, all right. For that, probably I'll give you a recommendation that once you're taking office, you bring the number down to zero. Starting from that point, let's see, in your hand, in 17 years, how many weapons can you confiscate?
Well, the good news is that Mike will always hold that record. Supervisor will always hold that record because the length of term for a supervisor is only 12 years. So let's talk about this in 12 years, and we'll look at the numbers.
Yeah, we can divide the numbers by 17, and then time 12
That's it.
to check with your record,
exactly,
right? Very
exactly.
good. All right, I'm so glad Catherine accepted my challenge. As a matter of fact, it's a recommendation she took it as a challenge. Anyway, with Catherine Barger, the candidate for the 5th District of LA County Supervisor, I see her as one of the very, very hopeful. So far, I would say maybe the hopeful for that supervisorship. So let's take a very short moment out. When we come back, we'll continue with the other legacies to be added with her own plan for a better county of LA. All right? We'll be back. Hello, my dear fellow Angelinos. Welcome to the discussion, back to the discussion about Better LA at the EastToWest show, which is exclusively sponsored by BP Aristo, best known for their internationally renowned Italian-style men's suit that represents tradition and culture. Plus, they use what they call nanotextile technology, which, microwave whatsoever, makes the fabric water resistant. I wear one jacket, so how do I look? By the way, you be the judge. Also, there are Aristo Golf Series, wonderful series. And nowadays we talking about combining sports with culture with the tradition. You better check, all right? With me, my good friend, Catherine Barger, candidate the most hopeful of LA County for the 5th District. Of course, by the way, Steve Napolitano was on my show.
I worked with him extensively over my years.
And I like him too.
He's a nice man.
I like him too.
He's a nice man.
He was a very low-key, ambitious though. Very ambitious.
You have to be ambitious to put yourself in the situations that we have. Yeah.
Being ambitious, also being low-key, that's the style I see in her, Catherine Barger, my good friend. So We touched about a little bit, several shows together. We go step by step, deeper and deeper into those issues, the core issues, some of the core issues. Speaking of public safety, we talked about a part of the weapon confiscation, criminal weapon, illegal weapon confiscation. For that, I heard from the news that there's going to be a melt, and the melted iron or whatever metal should be used for, could be used for bars, for fans, for safety. See, it's double featured.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
A double featured.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful program. Anyway, now, speaking of that though, last time you mentioned your other part of big plan for our transportation. Okay, which is a stretch to public safety. Without a better transportation, you're not talking about public safety, right? So, and then with public transportation, you're also talking about the infrastructures. So together, do you have a plan in your mind?
I look at, let's start with transportation. Before the voters in November is coming a half-cent increase in sales tax. And it's an ongoing, it has no sunset clause, which means that this is an ongoing tax forever.
Okay.
The reason why this was proposed this way is, number one, we did a bottom-up approach, which means that we allowed the communities throughout the district, throughout the county, to tell us what their needs are. And then taking those needs, putting it on a ballot measure, we recognize that if you look at what's going on in San Francisco with BART, or in Washington, D.C. with their subway system, they didn't include money for maintenance, and they're falling apart, and there are serious problems. So we built in a maintenance component, which means this will be an ongoing, state-of-the-art transportation system countywide. Having said that, this is going to benefit future generations. This is a system that is long overdue, and it's something that if the voters decide that they want to self-tax themselves to invest in our transportation system, the benefits will be, you'll have a line that will go through the San Gabriel Valley out to Ontario Airport one day. You'll have infrastructure within the county, whether it be bus or light rail or subway, that will be able to take you areas without a car. You will be able to park your car and not worry about it. You'll be able to go to the Rams game, which you can now, by the way.
Okay.
If you're going down to a USC game or a Rams game, you can take public transportation and take the Expo line, which is just completely opened up to Santa Monica, and never get in your car. And when you hear about the fact that they're charging $90 to park your car down at the Coliseum, you know, spending less than $10 on transportation sounds pretty good.
Exactly. On the November ballot though, do you have a bill or measure or prep that for my audience to recognize so that they know what to vote?
It's Measure M, as in Metro. And I would encourage people, and it's important to me, because in my government class in high school, we had to read all the propositions so that we understood what we were voting for.
Yeah, you're right.
Because the title may not necessarily reflect what's going on.
Yeah, you're right.
On this one, it's very straightforward. Individuals that want a better transportation system and believe that a half-cent sales tax is worth investing in our future, a future for our generations, should support it. It's very straightforward. There's no hidden agenda there other than to make this transportation system within LA County state-of-the-art.
I say, Catherine, that's a overdue call. I remember seeing an article about 8 or 7 years ago written by a New York Times columnist, Friedman something. That's his last name, saying that, a matter of fact, if you're checking about the LaGuardia Airport, and with a comparison to Shanghai International Airport, you certainly find out who lives in the third world. What a shame.
It is a shame, and
what a shame.
When I've traveled over to China, Shanghai, Beijing, different Hong Kong, the airports there are state of the art. I mean, and that's the first. That is the first impression when you get off the plane.
Yeah, yeah.
And here, we have to invest because the first impression when you get off the plane at LAX is, where am I? And there is no rail system to take individuals, once they get off that plane, out of the airport to destinations throughout the county. That's got to change. We are the only major.
It has to, yes.
Well, we're the only major county, city in the United States that does not have a rail system directly connecting to an airport. You go back to Washington, you talk to the Secretary of Transportation, and he can't believe it.
Yeah.
So that's going to be changed. That is going to be changed.
Exactly. I'm very glad that Catherine, my good friend, candidate for the 5th District of LA County, just to mention that as one on top of her overall plan. Because you know what? When you are talking about officials, you're talking about leadership. When we say leadership, we're not saying, okay, they are the decision makers or so on and so forth. We're talking about they lead you to a fact, they finger point the problem ahead of us. So be aware of it. You decide what to do. Let me know. I do the job. That kind of thing. Right?
Correct.
Speaking of Measure M for Metro, right? And I would say I support that. I personally support that. When I say I say myself as a man, right? Because if you had to take a chunk from your body, from your budget, whatever, for another war, for example, I would rather take twice of the size for something for our future. Am I right?
Yeah, and I do. I tell people this is an investment in the future
Investment,
generations.
that's the word.
And it's an ongoing. So this is not one where we're going to invest and then after 20 years the money runs out and then everything falls apart. This is building a transportation infrastructure that is county-wide. It's not focused on one specific area. It's county-wide that will address the issues as it relates to congestion on our freeways. It will give people an opportunity not to depend upon their car. It'll give them an opportunity to get out of the car. To you know, if you're an exercise advocate, it'll force people to walk more, to really experience the county. But again, it's going to be for future generations. We're going to be able to do things now, and we're seeing it. You've seen, you know, as I said, the exposition line down to Santa Monica is now open. Whoever thought they'd see that, where you could take a light rail down to the beach. You've got the Gold Line, which goes through San Gabriel Valley all the way out to Citrus College and Azusa Pacific. That is something that people still are saying, I never thought I'd see that day.
All right. Now that, Catherine, we're on that issue, I would just do a by the way issue, just a side note, right? So what does it have anything to do with the bullet train that's being planned or thought about at the state level?
That's a good question because people do confuse the two.
Yes, I just want to clarify it with my audience, is not confuse them, please.
It's a very good question. You've got two different projects going. You've got the Metro, Measure M, which is transportation local, keep the money local. Then you've got the high-speed rail. The high-speed rail is a state-run program, a state-run transportation system that is being proposed between San Francisco all the way down to San Diego.
Yeah.
It is a bullet train.
Yeah.
The problem we have here and the dilemma that we're facing in LA County is that maybe 70 years ago it would have been ideal because you didn't have the concentration of homes in the areas that they're proposing. What we're finding is that the high-speed rail coming through LA County, coming through what's going to really the 5th district, it impacts my district to the greatest extent in LA County.
You're right.
You are going to decimate communities. You are going to, there's a lot of horse property. And the people that own these horses are concerned that it's going to spook their horses, that it's going to create havoc in their community. So the dilemma is, how do we address the goal, which is to get people from point A to point B in a timely fashion, but maintain the quality of community that we built in these areas. And I believe that there are opportunities to terminate the high-speed rail in Palmdale. And pick up the Metrolink, which is currently already in existence. They've already got the tracks. Straighten those railroad tracks, because right now they're curved. Connect to Union Station, and then work your way down to San Diego,
Very
or terminate or stop in Palmdale, but then move east, come down through Irwindale, and follow the alignment of the 605 and the flood channel down, so you're not impacting whole communities. And I think that's most least disruptive. They're still concerned about tunneling through the mountains and the impact it'll have on the environment. These are a lot of questions. We put the cart before the horse.
Oh, okay.
Right?
I like that term. I like that term. Unless you want the horse to push it.
Well, at this point, I think that you're going to get to San Diego faster by horse than you are by bullet train.
All right, you're right. You're absolutely right. And you know, Catherine, what makes me so glad was that without discussing with you before, I just handpicked this issue, and coincidentally, I share the same spot with you. I share the same philosophy with you. We will talk about when we come back after this very short break. Hello, my dear folks, my dear fellow Angelinos. Welcome back to the East-West Show, exclusively hosted by BP Aristo, best known for their internationally renowned Italian men's-style suit that combines tradition and culture with fashion. And yet, more important, they use the nano-textile technology that makes the fabric even water-resistant and wrinkle-free to some extent. Oh, another series worth to mention, their Aristo 18 golf series. And today, if you know how to work hard, how to play hard all the time or the same time, though, better pick one set, at least one, like I did. Okay. Back to the point. The point is that we're talking about to pick up somebody, handpick very selectively for the job to be a supervisor of your county, your lovely county. With my friend, Catherine Bogger. Oh, by the way, Catherine Bogger doesn't need any training, on-the-job training, which with the lag will drag over a certain time to warm up. She's been on the job for the past 28 years already in the exact office, and she's been the chief of staff for Mike Antonovich, a supervisor of the 5th District for the past 15 years?
I've been with him 28, but chief of staff for 15.
15 years.
Yeah.
28 years together in that office, knowing where the door is, where the bathroom is, exactly, where the cafeteria is. And 15 years out of 28 being a chief of staff, right?
Knowing
Playing
every
around,
aspect of the county.
every aspect of the county job,
county.
right? So we try to apply her set of mind into the legacies the office, the Michael Antonovich has left, and then to look into the future of LA, we suddenly find out that our public transportation needs a little bit. And our public transportation really has given us more than a handful because we are exactly the witness, the live witness of how bad it is. We're driving bumpy cars almost every day.
Well, the streets are in disrepair because we don't have the funding to fix them.
And yet there is, in November, there is hope. There is a measure for Prep M for Metro to improve our condition, and to also lead into the future for our children. And we glad that just now we made a clarification about the difference between the county measure and the city. The state measure. State measure for high speed, I call the bullet train. The bullet train. Okay, back to the bullet train though. You tell me how many people wants to go from LA to San Francisco one shot?
And that is in this case, billion-dollar question.
Yeah.
There are differing opinions as to whether this is even going to be something that is highly utilized. I don't have an answer.
Are you aware of, are they aware of the fact that between A, LA to B, San Francisco, the most enchanting moment is that you drive along the coast to enjoy the landscape, the sceneries, right?
Or you drive up through Harris Ranch and you get to see.
You forget the whole thing, just
farmland.
close your eyes, sit down there with a bullet, boom, you're there. So,
And there are people, I mean, you know, I've noticed that we live in a culture where time is money and you want to get to where you're going quickly, and that's why
I know that.
you see the road rage.
But
with
how
more
about
cars.
people in between A and B? So do they go back to A, shoot to B, or do they go to B?
And that is a good question, Jack,
Yeah.
but also a good question is, are people willing to pay what the cost will be?
Oh,
to do that?
you're right. You mentioned that part.
And I think, you know.
My mother would like you because you think like a money thinks.
Well, and I think you have to, because if you look at the transit system, the rail system throughout this country, it's not self-funded. I mean, it runs in a deficit.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is with the bullet train or the high-speed rail is, depending upon the cost, are people going to be willing to do that? We do live in different times where people don't like taking an airplane because you have to go through security, for good reason, by the way. And I really do appreciate everything that our individuals do in screening at our airports. But there are people that say, I don't want to deal with it. But remember that they're going to have the same security measures in place in the bullet train. So I don't know. It to be determined. And then when you look at the costs,
sure. Anyway, we want to warn our audiences that once you're in the booth to cast a vote, though, make a clear distinction between Prep M for Metro and the bullet train at the state level. Those are different areas coming from different backyard, representing two different sets of transportation infrastructure, building a building ship, and also this represents two sets of different, concept, call it.
yeah, the high-speed rail is not on the ballot this time around because it's already been voted on.
I see.
So I think it's important for the viewers to understand that in voting for Measure M, it's not part of the high-speed rail or the bullet train.
Okay.
Measure M is a separate transportation-focused financial means to get us countywide transportation.
Now we do 9%. With that Measure M, how much are we doing?
It'll be a half cent.
Half cent.
Half cent.
Okay. Half a cent.
Half a cent.
Not a percent, just a cent.
One half of a cent.
1/2 of a percent or a penny?
1/2 of a penny.
1/2 of a penny. I can certainly afford that. I can.
Again, this is going to benefit future generations, and
You're
I guess
right,
it really
you're
comes
right.
down to prioritizing. You know, individuals today, when you drive on the street and you see there are roads in disrepair, it's because the amount of money we're getting in gas tax has gone down, and the state has actually taken some of that and that money that was in that pot to balance their budget. So we're getting less money, and individuals, it takes wear and tear on your car.
I see.
And so we want people to have options and encourage people to take transit whenever they can. I lived in Washington, D.C., and I took the bus to work. I was among many that did. Here, it's a whole different mindset, and it's going to be about educating people about our transportation system, about the bus, about the rail, and the opportunities.
You're right. Okay, people tend to say in LA, you're talking about driving all the time. There is no railway system. There is no underground system. Of course, not totally zero. We have some, but not as much as New York, like that kind of thing. I mean, should we have that, or should we have that? Well, we would not. Of course, I would just give up my car, right?
You bring up that's an also good point, because I have friends who live in New York that live outside of the city, and the train schedules are such that if they have a business dinner, they can get a train out late at night. Here we are not. Metrolink does not focus on that population. It's very limited, and so it does not afford professionals that may have to stay downtown or stay in an area where they're working and depend upon Metrolink to catch the Metrolink back to either the Inland Empire or back to the Ventura County. We need to think about the fact that we don't work for the Metrolink, the Metrolink works for the people.
Yeah.
So we need to
right.
build a
Okay.
transportation system, and I say Metrolink because that's part of our overall transportation system, and it's important for us to look and even do surveys and ask people if we had a better timetable that was more sensitive to the working professional, would you be encouraged to take the Metrolink?
You're right. I'll give you a good example, Catherine. You know, downtown Santa Monica, the 3rd Street, right?
Yeah.
There are lots of really nice varieties, right? Whenever I have a visitor or from China, either from China or from back east, I take them to entertain them on the 3rd Street. And it used to be a fact that you can go there, drive there, park your car nearby, and take a walk to the 3rd Street. Now you have either park your car way, way down by the water at the pier, pay super high rate, parking rate, or you have to go almost to Wilshire to get a available spot, right? So I would think the other day I would think if there had been a train, right, and that saves all the hustle rustles, and that get people right there rather than like say we're thinking about from LA, downtown LA to Santa Monica downtown.
And the good news is there is. The exposition line now goes all the way down to Santa Monica. And the great thing about the times that we live in now is that you can take the exposition line down, and then if it's too far a walk, you can jump in an Uber or in a cab or whatever, and just take it 5 minutes. So there are alternatives. That's exactly what we're talking about. And not to mention the fact that when I was growing up, I grew up in Pasadena. We would go over to Westwood and wouldn't think twice about it. Now, with traffic and all, it's a lot to take on. I mean,
Exactly.
traffic.
Exactly.
And so, there were no transportation alternatives. You drove. Now you have those alternatives, and it is about connectivity. It's about connecting everybody.
Another example, last Halloween, I had a bunch of visitors from China. They're calligraphers of my good friends. I took them to Sunset Boulevard. All right, okay. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 of us. Okay, we drove there. We were at the bridge. Finally, when we reached to the bridge, the exit, we're on the bridge, ready to make a left turn. We were there for 1 hour and a half.
Yeah.
Within 1 hour and a half, we didn't move about 10 feet. Right? We're certainly parked there, stuck there. And we were the waiting was so long until we decided, do you think, guys, it is worth the seeing? Probably we should go back.
Yeah.
We should go back. So we went back. We just stayed on the bridge for 1 hour and a half and went back for nothing. So that's how bad the transportation is.
And I do believe, and this is just subjective on my part, but that there is a correlation between the road rage taking place today and situations like what you're talking about. People get frustrated, they get angry. You know, when I was growing up, if someone put on their blinker, I would let them into my lane. Now you see aggressive drivers not wanting to let people in because it's going to get them there 2 seconds faster.
Yeah.
We've lost that, but we've lost that civility in some cases, and you hear a lot about road rage now. And we clearly have a serious situation, and which is why Metro's tax measure that's on here is timely. We're saying we hear you loud and clear. The bureau, the people that are sitting on the Metro, the directors, are listening to the local communities about what the need is, and we are now going to put something forward to address the community's concern.
We let them decide if they want us to go ahead or not. Right?
And this, to Mike Antonivich's credit, this is something he opposed the last attempt to do this because it was a bottom up, telling the community what they wanted.
Very good.
Antonovich pushed for a community telling us what they need, and now he's 100% behind it because it really is about communities having a stake in building a transportation system.
Very good. That's why we named the show For a Better LAC, right? Okay, my dear audiences, let's take a short moment. When we come back, we'll continue finding what else do we need with a better LA County. Hello, dear folks, dear fellow engineers. Welcome to the East-West Show, exclusively sponsored by BP Aristo, best known for their internationally renowned Italian-style men's shoes. I wear one of them, and that by using the nanotactile technology, the material is water resistant, that I like a lot. And also there are golf series, Aristo 18, which represents the combination of sports and fashion. Do get one if you want to work hard and play hard. So we're playing hard too. We're playing about taking a look at our LA County. See, in order to get a better LA County, what do we need? One thing came upon me was that we needed to be clear-minded so that we handpick a candidate for the job as a supervisor of County of LA. My good friend Catherine Bogger, the most hopeful candidate for the seat of 5th District of LA County for the supervisorship. So once again, Catherine, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I can't say how excited I am, because when we touch those bottom line issues, I certainly feel that I kind of get some handle about what we're talking about as a situation, right? So, talking about her plan, I started by asking questions, say, what do you have as bigger plan once you take office? We started, first of all, with this big issue about our transportation, which get us stuck all the time, which got Jack Chow stuck on the inner traffic for 1.5 hours to finally decided, let's go home. All right, very much so. Okay, now, what else plan? That's a big plan, overall plan that you have once you take office, please.
This campaign for me has been a real journey, and I've learned a lot. And the one common theme is people want jobs back in this state. They want to rebuild the middle class, to strengthen our economy. And my number one goal is to answer that. And by doing it, my goal is, because I've got the support across the board, bipartisan, but also of labor. And labor is always painted as being the reason why it's not working, and that's not the case. They want to work cooperatively toward bringing jobs back to California. My goal is to bring business leaders and labor together to enter into dialogue how we make this happen. You know, we talk about the bottom-up approach. I believe we need to look at the people that are creating these jobs and let them educate, and I say me, but educate people in office about what needs to be done to bring them back. But work together. I'm all about consensus and having people sit down. We can agree to disagree, but where do we agree and how can we move forward?
I see, okay. But I understand. Thank you very much for having brought that up. But the thing is that, you know, to say create jobs might easily be a slogan, right? Actually, how do you do it? How do you do it? What do you have that makes you believe that you are the one creating jobs?
First and foremost, we have done it. Up in the Antelope Valley, the 5th District has the greatest area of growth potential. In the Antelope Valley, we did it. We brought Kinkasharo, which is building all of our light rail for the transportation system up in the Antelope Valley. BYD. Build Your Dream is doing all the electric buses. Is building, has a factory up there and is actually expanding it.
Batteries and school buses.
And they are expanding, Jack. They are bringing in more. So it can be done. My goal is those are two examples. We can do more, and we have to do more, because we talk about the homeless issue, and one of the issues that's surrounding homeless, how do we prevent people from becoming homeless? It's keeping them in their job, keeping them with the ability to bring in a paycheck. We need to incentivize not only businesses to come back to California, but businesses to grow in California. We can do it, and the people I've met that are supporting me, that are leaders in jobs and leaders in the labor movement. I'm convinced we have such fertile ground here, both by bringing individuals in, but also the potential that we can do it. And BYD is just a little example of what can be done.
Yeah, if it is not Catherine Barger, somebody else, I would worry about his or her ability of creating jobs. With her, I do not have that, because I witnessed myself, because starting when I was a reporter at that time, I followed the deal made with BYD, being made with BYD at that very point, with Catherine Barger involved from head to toe. So, to getting into the subject of BYD to the point when BYD makes its home at the Antelope Valley to create jobs, there's a long process. She gets involved in the process, so she knows what to do. What is the job to create the jobs?
Absolutely.
Right? Like that kind of thing. Okay, now, policy-wise, incentive-wise, right? So what do you have? How ready you are to create jobs?
I feel that if I bring together the individuals who I already have in mind, and they identify where the red tape is, and identify where we need to do a better job of opening and putting out the welcome mat, that begins a dialogue with the state, where we can do it locally. I would propose that we do it locally, but some of this is going to have to come from the state. But I believe if you bring together all the leaders across the board to enter into a healthy conversation, it's not, it's your fault or it's because of this. It's about how do we, moving forward, make the state have a welcome to California. We're open for business, back up. I'm convinced we can do it, but we've got to work with our state legislature. And again, we started talking in the early part, someone like Senator Huff is someone who I would really value his opinion in terms of working on the state side. What can we do together? He has that knowledge from a Sacramento standpoint. We have such potential amongst the rank and file that we have within the county, but in 5th District. I'm excited. This is a challenge that I'm very, very excited to take on.
In other words, not only do you take it as your job to create a job, but also that you want to create other people, to create a allocation with people. Coalition with people for working as a group, right?
Absolutely.
All together, you guys to try to create jobs.
It's not about one person. You're absolutely right. This is not about me. This is about taking a leadership role to say, we've had enough of the talk. Now we need to walk. We talk it a lot, but now we have to walk it.
We need to walk.
And again, I've met incredible, brilliant people that are in roles, CEOs of companies. I've met brilliant people that work within labor. You've got an individual, Rusty Hicks, who really do have a vision. And I think if we can bring everyone into a room, and again, where we're going to disagree, let's set that aside, we'll deal with that. But where can we agree that the goal is to bring jobs back? How do we do it? It benefits everybody.
You're right. So lots of people say, hey, are you confident about making it back good enough to get the job back to you, get a business who already left you to come back to you again? That's one thing. But my concern is that if you want to make sure that you can make LA County a better county, well, you don't have to ask a second question. From people will come to you without a question.
Absolutely. People that
without being asked.
California, and again, born and raised Californian, born and raised in Pasadena, born in the 5th District. This is an incredible place to live.
And you have the profound love for this beautiful LA County. It's your own home backyard, right?
I have deep roots here, and you're absolutely right.
Okay,
I
very
tell
good.
people I wouldn't run for any other office. My love for the county and for local government runs deep, and my commitment is strong.
Okay, very good. All right, my dear audience, today I had this pleasure with my good friend Catherine Bogger sharing her concept and even her detailed plans about how to do the job once taking office. Catherine Bogger, one of the most hopeful candidates for the 5th District, for the seat of the supervisorship for County of LA. I do see that we have a better chance to get LA improved into a better county. And for that, we give everybody, including Michael Antonovich, including her endorsers, who were formerly her opponents, especially, for together we create a culture, we can create a county, an office for her to walk in to start actually doing the job, right? And there is one issue, big issue we left today, we didn't finish, because we enjoyed talking about this conference, concrete deals, points, right? So much education, right? When we come back next time, we will schedule to another talk for education, please. So my dear audience, thank you very much for watching. We're over time, but worth it. And to my friend Catherine, thank you very much. I wish you a good luck.
Thank you very much.